Hey guys, today we're taking a look at a new gun provided to me by ASG. It's the P09. Let's open it up and see what's inside. Alright, so you get your awesome case here. It comes wrapped in this piece of cardboard which has all sorts of callouts and graphics, the usual stuff, so let's get rid of that. Alright, so the first thing I really like about the P09 is this case it comes with. This is a standard case that's included with the gun. It's plastic, and unlike other pistols you get, or even rifles, you get a typical piece of cardboard with foam that you end up either throwing away immediately, or you keep it in the closet somewhere and never use it again anyway. But something like this you will keep, you will use, and it's perfect for storing your P09, all its accessories, the magazines, all that stuff. So I really like this feature. Now let's see what's inside of the case. So you pull these two tabs aside and it pops open. You get the instruction manual, which is great, and of course what you all came here for, the pistol itself. Now you can see the foam has nice cutouts for the gun and the magazine here. It comes with a foam plug, but as you can see, you can fit a spare magazine nicely. What I would like to see is another cutout here for another magazine, so you could really get all your stuff in here, and then you could probably do a flashlight cutout if you use a flashlight. So it would be a really perfect case for everything you need in one place. Alright, so looking at the gun itself, it comes with one magazine that's capable of holding 25 rounds. This is the green gas version here. It fills from the bottom. There's also a CO2 version. The green gas chronos right around 270 now after some use. So I think the gun has settled down a little bit. There's a couple of issues I had in the beginning, but after using the game and backyard blinking, the gun's really coming into its own, and all those issues seem to be ironing out pretty smoothly. So you fill the magazine through the bottom here. There's a hole to fill, but it's really tough to get in there because it's a small hole and it's kind of a strange angle for the fill nozzle to get in. So what they recommend doing is pulling down on this base of this follower spring here. When you do that, then you could easily slide the plate off, and then you have easy access to the fill valve. So fill it up, and when you're all set, pull that down again, put that base plate on here, slide it on, and there's a little rounded off pin that locks into a hole of the base plate, keeping it from moving forward. Speaking of that, sometimes if you're really rough when you're putting this magazine back into your pouch, be careful, because if you push too hard on the plate, it'll pop off. It'll probably get stopped by the second hole, which is larger, but the first hole is a little smaller and it doesn't seem to hold the pin as well. So I think the solution is to actually widen this hole a little bit, and it'll probably prevent it from moving altogether. So the gun itself is the CZ-P09, and it's sort of the modern version of the CZ-75. It has a polymer lower and a metal slide, with just like the real one. All the important stuff like the trigger, the hammer, that stuff's metal, the magazine's metal. One unique thing about this CZ-P09 as opposed to other pistols is that the slide rides inside the frame as opposed to on the outside of the frame. So you end up with a much meatier lower part of the gun and a thinner slide. This is kind of an advantage and disadvantage. The disadvantage is it's a little tougher to grip the slide because it's smaller, but really it's a non-issue. They have nice serrations front and back, so you get a real nice grip on it. The advantage is that because you have more frame down here, you get a nice high grip, and you're not worried about the slide riding back and forth on your fingers or slowing it down with your grip if you like to get that nice high grip. It also comes with a rail at the bottom here, which you could use to put on flashlights or lasers. I prefer a flashlight, and it sits really well. Lots of adjustment points. You can get real close to the trigger guard, so it's real easy to reach that switch on the flashlight. One thing I really like about this gun, when you first pick it up, it feels sturdy. It almost feels like a real steel gun. It's one of the more heavier and solid feeling guns I've ever held, especially at this mid-frame size. It's really sturdy gun. It just feels rock solid, like it could take all the punishment in the world. Another awesome thing is this trigger. It's so crisp. It has a little travel, and then it just breaks so smooth. There's absolutely no resistance on it. It works in the way it's supposed to, where it surprises you when it goes off. Another feature I really like are the sights. They have the white dots on them, so it's really easy to pick up the sights even in low light environments. The frame itself has really nice textures, both on the grip here and where you rest your fingers on the front of the frame. Really grippy, really like it. Magazine release, your standard plate down here, works really well. And you have your controls here. You have your slide lock on the side here, and you have your safety left and right. And just like the real gun, the safety will only work if the gun is cocked. Now, I did find a couple issues with this gun when I initially tested it. First thing was when shooting with green gas, especially with a can that's not fully filled, like you have a leftover can and you fill it up. The gun had a hard time cycling all the way through on a full mag dump and locking back. Ever since then, I think it's broken in a little bit. I think the spring sagged a little bit, the gun lubed itself up a little bit, and that issue is slowly going away, especially when using propane. That seems to solve the problem. But just be aware that when you first get the gun with green gas, you might have problems with it fully cycling, especially when it gets to the last round. It'll just keep shooting sometimes, even though the BBs are already all gone. Another issue to consider with the gun is the decocking mechanism. Now, you're supposed to be able to decock the hammer when the gun's cocked and loaded by pulling back on the hammer, squeezing the trigger, and then slowly lowering the hammer. Now, this works when the magazine has no gas in it, but when it has gas in it, what will happen as you're lowering the hammer, the gas mechanism will get tripped and the gun will start cycling. It seems to be a short stroke, like a full auto type cycle, but that's something to be aware of, because you might be in the staging area and you have your hammer bag and you might go, oh, I want to be safe, so I'm going to drop the hammer. But what you might end up doing is actually shooting off a couple of BBs accidentally. So be aware of that. That just seems to be a problem with the pistol. Hopefully it'll get fixed in the future. Speaking of the hammer, the gun is double single action, so you could shoot it either single action, which is done by cocking the hammer, by pulling back the slide or cocking the hammer and dropping the hammer, or double action, which is done by pulling the trigger, which cocks the hammer and then drops the hammer as well. It's a nice feature because you could chamber around and take the mag out, decock it, put the mag in, holster it, and when you pull it out and you go to shoot, you don't have to worry about anything but pulling the trigger. The BB will already be in the chamber and the hammer will set off the gas mechanism and you will fire. So another thing worth mentioning about this gun is it comes with a 3-month warranty, which is a long time for a gas pistol or gas rifle, anything like that, because if there's any problems with the leaks or the gun itself, it'll be very evident in the first few weeks. So 3 months is a long time to find out if anything's wrong. If nothing happens in that time, you got a rock solid pistol. And I guess ASG believes strongly in their product, so they're giving you that warranty. So before I started the review, I wanted to test the gun out. I did some backyard shooting at 30 feet, 60 feet, just to kind of feel out the accuracy. And the gun is really accurate. Once you figure out where to hold it, I tend to hold it a little lower than the target. It's pretty much dead on. Every shot goes almost exactly the same spot. I took it out to a game to really get a good feel for it. To me, the game is the ultimate test. That's what the gun's designed for. And that's when you're using it sort of unconsciously almost. All you're worrying about is the opponent trying to shoot them. You're not worrying about putting the mags in correctly or cycling the gun properly. That really is the ultimate test. And to me, it ran really well. I had a lot of kills. It never let me down when I needed to shoot. It shot. Only small issue I found on it is sometimes the slide will, when you put the mag back in with the BB in it, the slide will only go forward about halfway. It gets snagged on the BB. So it's something to be aware of. Always check, make sure the slide's fully forward. If not, give it a bump. The slide release can't always hold the slide. When you put the magazine in, it'll ride forward sometimes. Some people might look at it as an advantage because that's one less motion as you're reloading. You put the mag in, slide goes forward. But I don't think that's intentional. The real gun should hold the slide back until you either hit the slide release or you power stroke the gun. So one thing to consider when getting this gun is upgradability. It's a pretty exclusive gun. It's new. It's an ASG product. So there's not too much for it. There might be internal upgrade parts. I'm not really much about upgrading pistols. But even simple stuff like finding a holster, like a Serpa or something, or Kydex, it's going to be a little tough. This is not a very common real steel pistol. There's stuff for it, but if you're looking for a holster, consider something like this universal holster, which I'll be using for it. So that could hold it with a flashlight. But really, this gun doesn't need much out of the box. It shoots really well, it's really accurate, it's really consistent, and really you could just pick it up, get a couple mags, and they'll all fit nicely into this box and you're good to go. So overall, after using the gun in the game, backyard plinking, chrono, just playing around with it, dry firing, all that stuff, it's an awesome gun. It's great out of the box. It has a couple minor issues, but they're overcome by the great quality, great performance, and the fun factor. This gun's really fun to use, great pointability, great accuracy. So if you're looking for a new sidearm, highly recommend this. It's very reasonably priced, comes with this awesome case, and it has all the features that you look for in a modern gun. So if you're looking for a gun, check out the ASG P09. Big thanks to ASG for sending it out to me, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.